There is no national conspiracy to buy elections and control America.
You don't need a formal conspiracy when interests converge. These people went to the same universities and fraternities. They're on the same boards of directors. They're in the same country clubs. They have like interests. They don't need to call a meeting. They know what's good for them, and they're getting it. And there used to be 7 oil companies. There are now 3. It will soon be 2. The things that matter in this country have been reduced in choice. There are 2 political parties. There are a handful of insurance companies. There are about 6 or 7 information things. But if you want a bagel, there are 23 flavors because you have the illusion. You have the illusion of choice.
Did Poppy predict COVID? There's a few videos of her from a few years ago that just seem kind of weird now in 2020. I'm gonna put them in. In one of the videos, there's a video of her saying ICKYBABY, which is achy baby. An achy baby is something or someone that talks to her and warns her about stuff. And there's one clip in here where she says, "Is it Wednesday yet?" repeatedly. And people say that January 20th, 2021 is going to be something big. And if you look here, January 20th of 2021 does fall on a Wednesday.
I don't know when, but the scary mask is coming. It told me so. This is how to apply your mask. Place the elastic bands around. I told you. I told you so. The mask is off. The game is over. Is it Wednesday yet? ICKYBABY.
Yeah, we finna talk about that shit. So they found this sinkhole in China that was 192 meters deep. This dude named Chen Lexin, who led the expedition team all the way to the bottom of the sinkhole, which took them hours, by the way, said that when they got to the bottom, the grass was shoulder length high. Now, I'm 6 feet tall, but let's just say the average cave explorer was like 5'6" to 5'8". My God, that's still tall as fuck. Large enough to hold the Washington Monument, and the length of about 3 football fields long. Bro, this shit crazy. The most interesting thing that we know so far is that they found prehistoric trees that were 130 feet tall, bro. Prehistoric. My nigga, that's old as fuck. Look, all I got to say is this is an amazing time to be alive because I've been uncovering stories like this left and right, and I know y'all have too. I don't think this is a coincidence. I think that God is orchestrating this shit. He uncovering all types of shit, man. Aliens finna come back. We finna find the city of Atlantis. I'm here for it.
If Area 51 was actually the gateway to the real world, and we were all living inside Area 51 without even knowing it, this idea might seem ludicrous, but it has been the subject of a theory increasingly discussed within online conspiracy communities. 9 months ago, a peculiar message emerged on an obscure internet forum, capturing my attention despite its relative invisibility in cyberspace. The responses to this message were even more unsettling, triggering a cascade of theories, sometimes whimsical, but often intriguing. Comments suggested that Area 51 was not simply a secret military base, but indeed the veil between our perceived reality and the outside world. The theories are as numerous as they are fanciful, but they all pose one crucial question. What if our reality is not what we think it is? For 4 months, I dove headfirst into the dark and often perplexing universe of conspiracy theories, sifting through the most popular hypotheses and developing my own theories. In-depth research was conducted, enigmatic data was gathered, specialists were consulted, and finally, a possible explanation emerged. An explanation that challenges preconceived ideas.
These 2 sisters saw something that still haunts them to this day. On January 20th, 1996 at 3 p.m. in Varginha, Brazil, 2 young sisters decided to take a shortcut home through a vacant parking lot where they allegedly encountered something terrifying. They came across this ugly looking creature described as having large red eyes, oily brown skin, V-shaped feet, and 3 rounded bulges on its head. Many people compared this being to the mythical Latin American creature known as the chupacabra. Now, if you thought that wasn't easy on the eyes, wait until you find out that the creature had a strong putrid smell of ammonia. He supposedly smelled like ass. Anyway, when the 2 young sisters laid eyes on the creature, it's safe to say that it wasn't love at first sight. The creature spooked the bejesus out of them, and so they ran to their mother to explain to her what they had just witnessed. Now, prior to their sighting, 2 farmers, a woman and her husband, woke up to their cows going nuts outside, and to their surprise was a strange object in the sky the size of a bus, which was emitting smoke. Later that evening at around 6 p.m., 2 police officers spotted a bizarre animal collapsed on the road. An officer named Marco Cheriz scooped the creature up and took it to a local hospital which contained a special quarantine area. Animals were dying at the local zoo without any explanation, and weird shit was just going down. But it gets weirder. Almost a month after the incident, the police officer Marco Cheriz that picked up the creature passed away in a local hospital. It was reported that he developed an abscess and flu-like symptoms right before he died. What's even more trippy is that the 2 sisters who witnessed the other creature were later visited by 5 men who offered them money to keep hush-hush on their encounter. To this day, the military continues to deny the story, and as a matter of fact, one of my favorite filmmakers of all time, James Fox, is releasing a documentary on this incident later this year. He actually made the documentary The Phenomenon, which I highly encourage you guys to watch. So yeah, this is basically like the Roswell of Brazil, and the military is totally covering this case up. It was too risky, you know? People find out about this, especially in '96, and they'll all go crazy. I understand why they would cover it up at the time. But folks, the time has come to urge governments to release this info to the public. The majority of people are ready for disclosure. Before I go, I wanted to thank each and every one of you for helping me get to 100,000 followers. You guys have really motivated me to continue making content. And as promised, I'll be launching a podcast on YouTube very soon titled Fight or Flight. I'll be attempting to go face to face with eyewitnesses and former government officials in a push for what we call disclosure. That, along with conveying the most interesting UFO and extraterrestrial encounter cases and sharing personal accounts regarding this phenomenon. Hope you stick around, and as always, keep it adrenaline.
%50% chance we're in a simulation or not. And if it ever comes to the point where we can create a simulation, it will prove that we are in one already. So if we can create a simulation, we may already be in one. And if we are already in one, there could be multiple, there could be hundreds, there could be thousands, billions. And we don't know what is true base reality anymore.
You just brought up a really good story for me that I was going to bring up. I have this story from when I was a kid. So you know deja vu, like everyone experiences deja vu. That stuff just happens.
Yeah.
Like you're walking around, you with your buddy, someone kicks a basketball at you, you catch it, you go, I felt
like, that all before.
I've done this before. I've actually had a really weird experience with deja vu, especially when I was a kid. I don't get that stuff really no more. I'll still have experiences where like I feel like there's something about the brain when you're a child that works different. So what happened was I was at my cottage. I was with my neighbor. You know Joe?
Yeah.
I was with him. And I've actually had a really weird experience with deja vu. I feel like there's something about the brain when you're a child that works different. So what happened was I was at my cottage. I was with my neighbor. You know Joe?
Yeah.
I was with him, and we had cottages right beside each other. So what would happen is I'd go over to his place. We play GameCube. That night before, I had this weird dream where we were playing Luigi's Mansion, which is a game we normally play.
Oh, yeah.
I was seeing stuff I've never seen before, and I was like, I don't know what this is. So I woke up. I didn't think much of it. I was a kid. I was like, it's just a funny dream. Go over to his place. I've never been it before. It was the final boss I was seeing, and I saw exactly how to beat it and what to do, and I saw us winning the game.
Before it happened?
Before it happened. The night before. And I was tweaking because it was King Boo, essentially. and you're on the top of the roof for Luigi's Mansion. And the reason why I remember this so well, even to today, is because I saw it twice, bro. I swear to God.
Yo.
And
the Flintstones are from the past, while the Jetsons are from the future, right? What if the Jetsons and the Flintstones actually exist in the same timeline? And the reason why the Jetsons lived in the sky was because there was a nuclear...
Could humanity have accidentally unleashed an apex predator in Antarctica? On February 13th, 2021, a post popped up on a Google Earth thread appearing to show what looked like a giant spider in a Google Earth image of Antarctica. And a user with the name Son of Antanon showed up claiming to be the foremost expert on the subject, even going as far as to post these pictures of a commemorative plaque and wall clock proving that his father was indeed stationed as a medical doctor at McMurdo Base in Antarctica. If these videos about the paranormal, supernatural, secret, hidden history interest you, click the link in my bio and subscribe to my brand new YouTube channel. Antanon claims that for an 11-month period in the 90s, his father was the sole medical doctor at McMurdo Research Base in Antarctica. He would pretty regularly accompany scientists and armed soldiers on expeditions that would routinely take 5-mile detours around certain areas. And in certain instances, while taking these detours, he thought he could make out the outline of buildings in these areas. He said the site that they most regularly had to detour around was roughly 30 miles south and 10 miles east of his location, which is here. During this thread, one of the other Anons in the chat started doing some Google Earth snooping in that exact area and found this bizarre giant monolith with the bottom half blurred out. The doctor befriended a 10-year veteran of the site, and once they were a little bit closer, he asked him, hey, why do we avoid those areas? But the doctor just went pale and told him to shut up and then reported him to his commanding officer. Since Antanon's dad was the only medical doctor on site, he was also the pathologist, so the person that takes care of the bodies. And he was becoming very suspicious because he really didn't think this would be as big of a part of his job as it ended up being. There were a lot of casualties and some really strange injuries, like fully severed limbs and bodies found in half. But conveniently, since the remains were almost always frozen, he was always instructed to list the cause of death as hypothermia. He did try to go about it the right way. He tried talking to people, but either they knew nothing or they would just clam up and report him. So he basically just started rifling through people's shit, which usually I'm against, but at this point I'm all for it. The dude's an absolute mad lad. And if you don't think this is the absolute perfect stock photo for this next segment, you're crazy and I don't care. So while he was rifling through the workstation of one of the higher level researchers, he found a drawer full of journals. And these journals were full of information about what Antanon would call striders. From what he could tell, these creatures were found while the researchers were taking bore samples, which is when they drill big chunks of the ice out. Of course, they thought these creatures were dead because they were surrounded by ice that was at least hundreds of thousands of years old. But of course, upon thawing them out, a couple of them animated and violently escaped and had since become a huge nuisance for anyone or anything operating within that area of the research base. Now, Antanon's dad would go on to discover a lot more about these spiders, and it kind of seems like they're just one of many entry points into why Antarctica is so secretive and important. So comment part 2 if this interests you.